representing Steve DeAngelis, who could not make it here tonight because of a prior commitment. Jeff Pond is the architect for the project, who's holding up the larger version of those handouts that we gave you. So to walk you through what it is and who Steve is, 65 Atlantic Avenue is the 3-story brick building that sits between the Prince Building on the northerly side.
Prince Building is right here.
And then there's an alleyway that separates the Brandon Building, which is referred to as Commercial Walk West.
This is Atlantic Avenue at the top. So the Prince Building is right here. The alley is right here. And then Commercial Walk is over here. And right across the street is the sale lawn.
The space has been a variety of uses over the last several years. Most recently, a patent attorney occupied the space. There was a bank in there for a while. I believe there may have been a real estate office in there at one time as well. It is now vacant. Steve DeAngelis, who has operated Golden Goose in the neighborhood for 40 years, is the proponent of this proposal. And the way it comes about is it was brought to Steve's attention that Dunkin' Donuts was in negotiation with the landlord of that building, which happens to be the same owner as Commercial Walk West, where the Golden Goose is located. So it's one and the same collective owners. When I say owners, it's a multiple number of people. And found out that Dunkin' Donuts was prepared to go into that space, was planning to go into that space. And the concern of some of the abutting property owners was that the operation would interfere with traffic and trash and some other things, etc. And brought it to Steve's attention, also for the fact that it would have an effect on Steve's business, but more importantly, that local ownership would be a better idea for the space. So Steve went and talked to the landlords, and what the concern was to explain is a sort of a tricky zoning issue, which is that Dunkin' Donuts, for many years, when they were opposed in various cities and towns because they needed zoning relief, similar to the relief we're asking for, which is for a restaurant use with takeout, came across the idea that they could operate as retail stores by having their products produced in a commissary, shipped on site, and they take the position they do no cooking, that what they do is preparation, meaning if they're making you an egg sandwich, it's going in the microwave, considered as preparation, or it's going into something other than the classification of cooking. So as such, a Dunkin' Donuts could move into that spot without having to go through any zoning. It's a retail store, because a retail store is allowed use. We, however, will be cooking our products, freshly made breakfast, lunch items, and therefore need to be classified as a restaurant. Technically, it's a coffee shop called a restaurant with takeout use. So we are going through the zoning process, and that's why we're here. The proposal that we've put forth has been primarily in conjunction, again, with some of the neighbors, starting with the meeting before we filed all of this at the Prince Building, because they are the abutting property owner next door, to see what the concerns would be in this operation. So in describing it, we will tell you, and Jeff will show you, this has about 1,700 square feet of space in the area. It will accommodate 36 seats. It is a self-serve, not a weighted served meal, meaning you go in, you buy your coffee, you buy your breakfast item, whether it's a prepared omelet or whether it's a muffin, and you sit down at one of the tables and chairs to enjoy it. The hours of operation for it will be 6 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. at night. The premises will serve breakfast all day with an extensive breakfast menu, both items prepared to order, as I said, omelets, waffles, pancakes, and so on and so forth, as well as items that have been prepared to bake in advance, everything from donuts to croissant and so on, and fresh fruits, yogurt, that won't go on and on, the typical full breakfast service. That service will be available anytime you go in that it's open. In the afternoon, they will also do some sandwiches and salads and lighter service, no what would be classified as full meals, meaning you won't go in and buy a meatloaf dinner or turkey dinner, etc. Things that he actually makes and prepares at Golden Goose for you to take home, so that he leaves that operation as it is at Golden Goose. And the issues that in addition came up were where the deliveries would be made from. So deliveries are going to be taken in front of Golden Goose, which is the commercial street side, and not on Atlantic Ave, so as not to tie up that horrendously busy lane of traffic we now have on Atlantic Avenue in the southerly lane. So all of that will be wheeled through, we call it an alleyway, it's a private way that's in the middle, and taken into the restaurant. The trash is going to go into the existing dumpster facility that services those two buildings, Golden Goose, where Golden Goose is and where this three-story building is, and it's located closer to the front, but will in the future be moved back as part of a renovation of that alleyway and so forth. And the last concern, and principal concern, not principal concern, but major concern, was how you would vent this operation. So originally the thought was the venting would be to the roof and where it would be located, but Jeffrey has done a considerable amount of research on this and has discovered a product that's referred to, I'm going back to notes, as a pollution control unit, which is currently being used in restaurants that aren't able to bring their vents to the roof. And what it does is it's a rather extensive operation. It's all internal. It's a multiple filtered system that removes oils, greases, and all of the odors, etc. And the only thing on the outside of the building is a little bigger than that air conditioning item up there that will fit over a window. It's 1 foot by 6 foot long louver that emits air, not smells, not heat, but air. And the internal portion of this is approximately 20 feet long.
10 feet long.
10 feet long, I'm sorry. And what's the width?
3 feet square, 10 feet long.
So it's a sizable, what will look like internal venting, but it's actually multiple filtrations that take everything out and then airs out onto what is the Atlantic Ave side of the building. So there will be no vents up the roof. And if this works according to plan, and as I said, there are some that can be seen. One is on Water Street for a rather large restaurant, so it's a larger louver because they have more cooking, etc. That's being used in the building where they can't go to the roof. And there's one in the south end at the Bull Loco. I think Steve has got it. So there are several that are in use, and they seem to be quite effective. So in addressing the issues, odor, venting, and location of it, this removes it from going up to residences in the area, but rather takes it out and emits it as a non-odorous air that comes out of the vent. Other than that, trying to get any other issues that have come up.
The only thing I would add is that by having the unit inside the space itself, it's easier to access and to clean. It needs to be maintained fairly frequently. One of the concerns Steve had about going to the roof, if we went to the roof, was the difficulty of getting there often enough to maintain the unit on the roof. Plus, there was no way to get it through the building. Other than that. And the other thing I'd like to say is we're also proposing to put awnings on Atlantic Avenue, and the awning over this particular window will pretty much cover up the vent anyway.
And we were mentioned, there was the Burns on-premise presentation several weeks ago, very well attended by the properties in that area. Everyone, Maria Lanza's not here, I thought she would speak to it, but everyone that was present from the various buildings all basically complimented Steve on the operation of Golden Goose. For many years, and one of the few grocery options we have in the neighborhood, well-run, et cetera, et cetera. So they unanimously supported the idea and supported his operation. And a question came up, which we should be aware of as well, is, well, what if Steve gives this up at some particular point in time? Anytime a zoning relief for a takeout use is granted by the zoning board, it comes with the first restriction being for this applicant only, meaning any future user has to go back through this very same process that we're going through with you, and then eventually the ZBA to be approved for the same space. So it doesn't automatically turn over to somebody else at a later time. Yes?
I'm a little concerned and don't quite understand the awning thing and the venting going together. Could you show us sort of where it would be, and also
Sure.
what height would the awning be? Would the awning be at street height?
No, well, no, I mean, it's above your head, that's what you mean.
And is there
It's not something,
are there other awnings?
there is an awning over the entrance to 65 right now. And there's a sort of canopy around, yeah.
There's an awning in front of commercial wall.
Yeah, there's an awning.
And-
There's an awning in 63, yeah.
Each,
Yeah.
to try to make it easier, I think, how many windows are there?
Well, there are, I mean, the entrance to 65 is here. This is, the Prince building is right, yeah, and this has a sort of canopy over the entrance. This, do you know where the vault was?
I know where the
dead drop?
is.
Where the vault was, it used to be a bank and there was a night deposit vault right here. That's the window where the louver is going to come out. It's going to come out up above at the very top of the window. It's only
We
a,
have a picture of what it would look like. It's very hard to visualize something new on the face of the building. And you don't walk down by it all the time just looking for awnings and trying to visualize where an awning would be. So it would be nice if there's any delay for this thing, it gets delayed. Have a little sketch.
well, I mean, we're in the sort of early
How
stage.
it's going to affect the appearance of the land, and the appearance of
Well,
that building.
you as Jeff has described, you principally won't see it. Meaning,
You won't see it.
if you want to think of it, what we're talking about as a louver, again, I'm using that as an example only because of its appearance. So the size of that louver is about a foot high, which this would be, and that appears to be maybe 5 feet, so it'll be a little bit longer. But it will actually sit under, what will be the canopy in front. So as far as viewing it, there'll be very little that you'll actually see unless you're principally either under or very close to it, looking up under the canopy. So that's when you'd be able to see it.
So you can envision an awning over that air conditioning unit over there.
But are the louvers flush with the building?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not gonna stick out like
No,
that is?
no, it'll be flat, but, louvers, have that appearance to them.
So this is the,
Will the awning run the length of the window?
Yes.
yes. So
Only
this
one
is the
window.
entrance
Only
to
one. So it's
65.
only on the last window that's 6 foot, the size of the
While we have the personal presentation, I want to actually open it up to more formal questions, and I want to ask if there are any
Well,
abutters.
we're going to put awnings over the other windows as well, but there won't be any louver.
And if you have,
I'm sorry.
if you guys have any questions, you have priority that you can get a meal without. I guess they're being answered right now.
Sorry.
We had a meeting at our building, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. So we're in the question phase now, and I just asked if the butters were here to ask a question. I'm going to open questions up to everyone, but I have one question I want to ask, and that was on the comment that you made about the conditional use with takeout needing to be reapplied for by the next occupant if this in fact is given, if the variance is given for this. So what if the next occupant is a restaurant that doesn't want takeout?
Different category.
So, but it's a conditional use,
No, it's-
and a restaurant has been in there before.
No, the restaurants fall into different classifications. So a sit-down restaurant is a 37, I believe, and this is a 38. So the fact that you're licensed for a restaurant as takeout would not give you the right to be what they call a China service restaurant, a service restaurant. So you couldn't convert it over to a sit-down restaurant without going through a complete zoning process, not just a transfer, but a complete
But a
zoning
complete,
process.
as we're going through here.
Right.
So there's no situation where if the Goose folks decided they want to sell this for whatever reason in 5 years or whatever, the new people wouldn't, there's no situation where the new people wouldn't come in front of us, unless the zoning folks change their laws.
Right.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions from the membership?
In addition to the awnings, which, that even a maximum blue that's already there.
Well, they're going to be similar, and I don't know if they're actually going to be
But they
blue.
appear to be about
Yeah.
the same. Will the windows remain, the open windows, the remain?
Well, Steve's talked about the possibility, I mean, we're hoping to get in there by the end of the year or in the winter. He doesn't want to change the windows now, but possibly in the spring have them be windows that can open so that you can sit inside and they'll be open to the outside.
And the entrance to the restaurant will be at the corner there.
Yeah, where it is now. Yep.
What's the current use of this
All the
building?
windows look
Who's the
directly across
current user of this?
to the
Who is the current
window.
user of this
It's a
building?
beautiful view.
It is.
It's empty on the ground floor. It was a patent attorney for a while. There's also a laser,
You know,
So-
cosmetic surgery, it's like.
no, well, I know, he may have, but the most recent one was a patent attorney. He's vacated the space.
Attorneys.
And the part you see over here, this part that's sort of stuck out, that's a laser surgery clinic.
Great. Are there any other questions? I want to ask folks, if you could, when you ask a question, let the previous discussion conclude first. And secondly, if you wouldn't mind identifying what yourself and what street you're from, that would be helpful. Anyone else with a incisive question? Now, does anyone have any comments they'd like to make? About anything?
Oh, yeah.
When would it open? If you get in by the end of the year, when you would?
Well,
What would you suggest the construction schedule would be like?
well, we're still,
Well,
we haven't got a permit yet. We haven't got a date yet,
Right,
as I understand
the
it. And there's-
expectation on permit, I'll do that, and then you can talk about construction, is that we're hoping to get a date in mid-November for the ZBA. If the date is mid-November for the ZBA, it likely is mid-January to get the permit, just because of process. So if the permit issues in mid-January,
There's really not a lot of work to do inside, but it's still going to be February, March, I would bet.
So when would you open?
February, March.
Maybe, oh, that
Yes,
fast?
yes,
If you got the
so-
permit
oh,
in
yeah.
February, you open in February?
It's primarily the kitchen installation.
Yeah, which is all,
The rest is all.
all Steve has to do is order the stuff and it's just gonna drop in. We have to do some tile work in the bathroom, some tile work in the kitchen, but pretty much,
Fast construction project?
well, pretty much the interior, there are wood beam ceilings that exist, which we're not gonna change. The exterior walls are exposed brick and granite, which we're not gonna change. So, it'll never be that good.
Well, I think if there are no more questions or comments, we're ready to, for everyone to take a vote. Ballot number 1 is what we'll be using with a spider on it. Spider ballot for this. And of course, support or oppose is self-explanatory. So NEWRA members support the proposal 43 to 3. So 43 to 3. So it was overwhelming support. Thank you very much. Good luck.